Thanks for being here, Chuck. I'm really excited to introduce you and just to tell you a little more about him. He is a plant-based influencer who spreads a lot of positivity with his vegan cooking through his blog and his cookbook and YouTube videos. He's done plant-based cooking since 2008 and graduate of the Colin Campbell's plant-based nutrition course. And his brand new vegan website can really help with how to become vegan and still eat those favorite comfort foods, which he's going to share with us as well today. He is from the Portland area and Northwest side themselves. Lucky to get to have him not just today but other times share his recipes, and they're a hit, and I'm sure that you're going to enjoy it again today. So thank you.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me okay? Do I need the phony microphone? No? Good. So I'm not going to cook for you today because I was told I couldn't cook. So we're going to pretend to cook. But I did make some real chili. It's in the next room, and they'll bring that out so you guys can try it. I became vegan in 2008, like she said, because I was not in the greatest shape. I worked at Intel. I'm an Intel guy. And I worked night shift. Night shift does horrible things to your body. You know that. I didn't eat very good. I drank, I smoked. Everything I could do wrong, I was doing wrong. And I watched this movie, Processed People. That was the very first time I ever saw Dr. John McDougall, the late Dr. John McDougall. And it really struck me. It kind of pointed me toward the vegan avenue I had to go on. I watched some other movies, Super Size Me, some of the older movies, and they were all talking about the same thing. So I told my wife, wherever she went, oh, she left me already. Pretty much same reaction when I told her I was going to be vegan. Yeah, she threw her apron at me and walked out of the room. But I've been vegan since 2008. I started my blog in 2013 because I wanted to share my recipes. And the recipe I made for you today is my award-winning chili. I say that because 10 years ago when I posted this on my blog, some guy made it. He entered it in a chili cook-off in Texas and came in second place with all the meat-based chilies that was competing against. So since then, it's won, I don't know how many awards all throughout the country. I don't have the trophies. I don't have the plaques. I get the bragging rights, I guess. But anyway, it's my chili, and you'll be some samples coming in. I want to show you how easy this is to make. It's really simple. And the whole reason I got into this cooking, for one, my wife wasn't going to do it. But two, I want to show people how easy it can be to make comfort food that we already know and like. I mean, my recipes are like biscuits and gravy. I'm from Indiana. I'm a Hoosier boy. And I lived in New Mexico for 10 years. So I got spicy chilies on my agenda too. But I grew up with chicken and dumplings, biscuits and gravy, meatloaf, sloppy joes. I just recreated all my comfort food favorites from when I was a kid because that's the food I wanted to eat. I didn't want to eat this weird vegan stuff I was seeing on the internet, quinoa. I can't even pronounce it, let alone spell it. Like, no, I want sloppy joes. I want hamburgers. I want hot dogs, carrot dogs. So that's the whole gist of my blog is comfort food. I have a book here. I have cards here. If you want either, let me know when this is over. But this chili is so easy. Pretend I'm cooking. You need some onions. You can use fresh onions. I like to use fresh, but if you can't, if you don't have any knife skills, you don't trust yourself dicing and slicing an onion at home, you can buy these at Fred Meyer, Walmart, Albertsons. They're pre-chopped onions and bell peppers. This has onions, green bell peppers, red bell peppers, and yellow bell peppers. I would use about 2 of these. Dump them in a pan. We're pretending we're cooking now. You'll need some liquid to saute these in. You can use the cartons of veg broth. You can use water. I like to use this. It's better than bouillon. If you get the organic one, this is called seasoned vegetable base, but they do have an organic version. It's oil-free if you happen to be oil-free. I don't use olive oil to saute my veggies in. It's pure fat. You don't really need it. It's not an essential fat. And it's 120 calories per tablespoon. So you can save a lot of calories by just using veggie broth. You can't taste the difference. Or you can use this stuff. You take a teaspoon of this into a cup of hot boiling water, and you got a cup of veggie broth. It's really simple. If you do use the carton, Imagine has the oil. Pacific is oil-free, just so you know. Anyway, you get a little bit of veggie broth in here with your onions and your peppers. You cook them till they're kind of soft, kind of glistening. Add your garlic next. Always add garlic after the onions get cooked down. You don't want to burn garlic. Trust me, you cannot unburn it. It'll taste horrible. You can use real garlic if you don't have knife skills. They also make this in a nice little dice format. It's really simple. A couple of teaspoons of garlic. Now we're ready for the meat or no meat. You don't have to use meat, but if you want to, I personally use bulgur. It's a wheat. If you watch Brenda Davis's presentation, this is close to the top as far as being less processed than some of the other stuff towards the bottom. If you're gluten-free, don't worry. Here come the samples right now. No bulgur is in the samples. That's completely gluten-free. But this is what I like to use, about a half a cup. You can also use TVP. You can also use soy kernels. You can also use oat groats, mushrooms, or just add more beans, which is what I did today. Just add another can of black beans. There's no jalapenos. It's not spicy. It's gluten-free. Hope you guys like it. So anyway, we have our onions, we have our peppers, we have our veggie broth that we're sweating everything down in. We got the meat. If you want to use meat, we use about a half a cup. Then we add our tomato products. I use no salt added, so you keep the sodium down. And a can of tomatoes. These are the fire roasted. I like these. You can use whatever you want. You can use real tomatoes from your garden. You can use just normal diced tomatoes from a grocery store. I really like the fire roasted. Adds a nice flavor. You have that all in your pot. You're stirring it up. Next come the spices. So cumin. Again, this is not hard to find. This is all from Fred Meyer. Every single thing I have here. Some cumin, garlic powder, onion powder. This is like El Cheapo, Walmart brand. It's really inexpensive. I think my bill when I bought everything for one single batch of this chili was like $40 from Fred Meyer. And you consider this makes pretty much close to a gallon of chili. That's a good deal. Smoked paprika. You can use regular paprika if you want. It's an Italian-based paprika. I like this smoked. The oregano is what I was talking about. This is Mexican oregano compared to the Italian oregano. Smoked paprika, smoked paprika. And all the amounts for the recipe, they're on my blog, which is free. Every recipe on my blog, 424 recipes, I think, so far. They're all free. They're also in my book. But I like to use the Mexican oregano for spice compared to the Italian. It just has a better flavor to me. If you can't find it, look in the grocery store where all the chili pods and the tortilla shells and the salsa, stuff like that. Usually right above the dried chili pod, you'll see all these little cellophane bags full of spices. This is a Mexican oregano. So we got our spices. Oh, and the chili powder. Make sure you're using like a generic McCormick style chili powder. Chili with an I, chili powder. The difference between chili with an I and chili with an E. Chili with an E is the pepper. And you can buy pure chili powder. It's just ground up peppers. It's hot. And if you put a quarter cup of that in this chili, your chili is going to be really hot. Chili powder with an I is more of a blend of oregano, spices, salt, garlic powder, silicon, blah, 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 blah. This is the kind you want. It won't be so spicy. And I use a quarter cup. It may sound like a lot, but it's really not that much. And it really gives this chili its flavor. For thickening, I use a half a can of refried beans. These are the no fat traditional, which means they're also vegetarian. They're not cooked with lard. Make sure you read the labels on the back to make sure it says that if you're vegan. I use about a half a can, and that's what's going to thicken this up. And then you have your beans. Normally, I would add the pinto and the kidney. I drain and I rinse. That's going to get rid of a lot of sodium. For this batch right here, because I didn't use meat or bulgur, I used the black beans. Again, all of these are a little sodium, but I would still rinse and drain them really good. Taste it then before you add your last can of beans. And if you want to use fresh beans, by all means, you can do that too. Soak your beans overnight and use those to make your chili. But if you taste it right now, you'll get an idea if it needs more salt. And if it does need more salt, don't rinse this can. Just dump the whole can in, because this has 140 milligrams of sodium per serving. That's about 3 servings. So there's quite a bit of sodium in this can. I'll just dump that in like it is. And that seasons all my chili, the whole pot of chili, without using any salt at all. And then when it's all cooking together, you let it sit and simmer for about half an hour. And I call it the best damn vegan chili because it really is good and I like it. And trying to figure out how to do this without cooking for an hour is hard. Yeah, some popular recipes on my blog. This chili is way up there. My carrot dogs, you've probably tasted carrot dog before. Cheese sauce, my cheese sauce is made from potatoes and carrots. I have a really popular veggie stew. I think one of the other food demos was tacos today. I'm not sure what she used. I use cauliflower to make my tacos. French fries, tamales, there's the biscuits and gravy I mentioned. So yeah, comfort foods are my focus. Everyday pantry ingredients, I try to keep it as simple as I can. What I do now in my blog, I have a support group for people who want to eat plant-based. If you don't have somebody at home to help you, to support you, it can be hard. Totally changing your diet overnight. It's not an easy thing to do by yourself. Like I said, she threw her apron at me, walked out of the room. I'm not cooking that stuff. So my support group is the support for people who want to be vegan, but they don't have anybody at home to help support them. We follow a lot of the plant-based doctors. We follow Dr. John McDougall, may he rest in peace. We follow Dr. Esselstyn, Dr. Dean Ornish, and one of his major principles, Dr. Ornish, is what we call the 4 pillars: eat well, move more, stress less, and love more. And with our support group, and I actually have Belinda and her husband. They came all the way up from Independence, Oregon to see me. She's a member of my support group. So is Donna. We really push those 4 pillars to eat as good as you can, try to move every day. And the love more is us meeting every single morning in a online stream. So it's like a coffee session in the morning. So that's what we do today, what I'm doing today. A lot of my time is spent there, being invited to Digest. That was something new. I just published my first cookbook. That was about a year ago. I still have some copies. That's here if you need or would like one. It's completely self-published. If you order one from my website, it'll be me stuffing it in the envelope and putting a tag on it and taking it to the post office. No Amazon, it's just me. We talked about my chili recipe. That's right there. This is the easiest thing to clean too, by the way. Nice. No dishes. Go ahead.
No, ever since I was little, and and I've cooked since I was small. If I've made spaghetti sauce, I was taught the longer you cook, what flavors marry together, and I just, for whatever reason, extended that to if I were cooking chili, I would use the same principle. Does it change if you cook it longer?
It seems to me, and I don't have any scientific proof, but it seems to me that it's always better the next day. You put it in the fridge, it has time to marry and meld and do all of its magical stuff in the pot. And the next day, it just seems better. Is there proof? I don't know. I'd like to say there is. Pepper options. I don't like bell peppers. You can use jalapenos. If you want to use a hatch green chili, I've done that. If you're brave and you want to try a serrano, some ghost peppers, you can definitely do that. Let's see. We talked about the meat substitutes, the bulgur. Again, that is a wheat, TVP. So these are interesting. TVP is a byproduct for making soybean oil. It's really heavily processed. I don't normally use this myself personally. I use these. When you say what's the difference, they're both soy. This is pretty much the whole soybean. They steam it, soften it, and they push it through something they call an extruder. The best way I can remember or try to explain this, remember the Play-Doh toys where you put it in the thing and you shove the handle down, it came out the other side? That's the extruder. They do the same thing with soybeans, and that's why they're all these weird long shapes. And then they dry them. So this is a whole food. This is a really highly processed food, but they're both soy. So you have a choice. Of course, there's the Beyond and the Impossible. And if you're brand new, that's always a good choice too. I like to use just more beans or use the bulgur. We talked about the tomato options methods. So I'm cooking this on a table today. You can also use a stove. I hear that works well too. But you can do it in an Instapot. You can do it in a crock pot. I guess if you had a gas grill and you had the right kind of pot, a big Dutch oven or something, you could cook it on that too. But yeah, it's a very versatile recipe. You can cook it however you want. I do have a separate recipe on my blog for the Instapot if you want to go look at that. Thank you.